means that Sister Marcia has spent most of her life dedicated to the development and growth of Jamaican reggae music. That's what it means.
Right.
Yes, she's an artist. Yes, she has made music. Yes, it is beneficial to her as well, but it is also beneficial to us as reggae lovers and Jamaicans. When we can come together to celebrate somebody's 57-year contribution to music, it is a huge, huge moment in our culture. My slogan here at Sound Chat Radio will always remain the same. Let these people know how much we love them, how much we cherish them, and how much we adore their music, why they can hear us, and they can appreciate being appreciated by us. Extremely important. So a couple of weeks ago when I spoke to Sister Marcia, and she just kind of hinted that on Easter Monday she will be celebrating 57 years of, you know, her musical journey, I had to jump right in and say, you're not going to be celebrating that without me, because I got to be in that celebration as well, because I love you just as much as you love yourself. 100%. 718-554-8598. Now, I'm going to chop it up with Sister Marcia for a little bit, and then I'm going to open up the phone lines for you guys to hear Sister Marcia, for you guys to allow Sister Marcia to hear how much she's appreciated for her contribution of 57 years. This is huge. And also, I want you to ask yourself this. How many artists of today will be able to say 57 years from now that they are celebrating their contribution to the growth of our culture? Some of these things that's happening, they're never going to happen again in our culture.
We'll never see it again.
Sister Marcia is part of a golden era of artists.
Yes.
These are the foundations in which everything that we have musically were built.
Yes.
And we, as lovers of the music, have to learn to appreciate what the persons before us did. 57 years. Sister Marcia. Sister Marcia.
Yes, I'm here, Chin. Greetings.
Greetings. Let me start off the conversation by saying thank you so much for 57 years. Thank you so much.
Well, first I thank the Almighty God for preserving me, but I am thanking you and the rest of the fans and my family for supporting me, because without the support from the fans, I don't think I would have made it here. So I am truly thankful.
So true. And you've had so many chapters to your 57-year-old long journey, don't it?
That's correct. Yes, so many.
What would be the first chapter of your career? Let's talk about the first chapter.
Well, the first chapter is what I've been doing all day today. I've been basking in beautiful memories of, I got up early this morning and went out in the sun, and I gave God thanks for this day, because I remember 57 years ago, I was getting ready to go to Carib Theater, one little skinny 12-year-old girl, getting ready to go on stage with Byron Lee and the Dragonaires. So I just started, I threw my thoughts back on that day, and I relived every moment. You know, so that is my most important chapter, because that's where I got the break, the beginning, not even a vision to think that this would have become my career for the rest of my life.
Wow.
So that's my first chapter.
So
because that...
Go ahead.
That morning after performing at Carib with Byron, I was taken straight to Studio One. It's like walking distance from Carib, going to Studio One. So I was taken directly to Studio One, and I just went to the studio and I started recording. And the rest is history. That's stable.
Would Byron Lee be your first endorsement into the music? Was he the first one to present you to the public?
Yes, he was. He was performance-wise.
Performance
Was
wise.
like recording. I have to say it was all done at Studio One. Mr. Dodd is the one who gave me that baton, and I just held on to it and just know where I wanted to go, and I just went there.
How did you end up in Studio One right after the performance? Was it that Mr. Dodd heard about this young 12-year-old that's performing well?
No, it was a friend of mine who was working at RJR, Linford Anderson, and he was at the performance at Carib Theatre, and he said, "No, man, I'm going to take this little girl straight to Mr. Dodd." And we walked from Carib straight to Studio One. That's how I got there. And then I never did any audition. I went straight in, and Jackie me too. And the rest of the musicians, Scatterlights, I think they were. They asked me what song I wanted to do. And then this guy that was living the same place where I was, that's how come Philip James heard me singing. Because I was harmonizing this guy's song that he wrote, and he plays the guitar. So I called him up to the studio from where I was living in Hannahtown, and he met me at Studio One. So when he came there, I said, "You have to come and sing your part because I'm going to harmonize."
Sister Marcia, Sister Marcia, move around because I'm not hearing you on the phone.
So Jackie too said,
Can you hear me, sister?
Oh, no.
Can you hear me?
"Yes, I can hear you. You're not hearing me?"
All right. Say what you were saying because you started to break up. So go back a couple minutes in the conversation and come back again.
Okay, I was saying that this guy that lived in the same yard where I was living, he played the guitar and he wrote this song called Wall of Love. I was the one who was harmonizing the song when Philip James of the Blues Busters heard me singing and insisted that I perform on the Easter Monday show. So when I ended up at Studio One, I sent for Utan. I said, "Utan, come, I'm at Studio One." And he came quickly, and when he realized that we were actually going in the studio to record, he said to me, "Don't worry, going there, no nervous thing." And I said, "No, man." And believe me, he's the one who went in there and couldn't sing one note. He was shaking like a leaf. So Jackie me too said to me, "Little girl, you know this song?" And I said, "Yes," because he wasn't able to sing a note. And I said, "Yes, I know the song." And I sang the song, and they learned the chords for the song, and I did it all by myself. He was even threatening me because I ended up doing the song. But it was not even released up until this day.
Wow.
So that was just the beginning of everything. Mr. Dodd was overwhelmed, with my talent, and he tried everything for me to just get a hit song. He had me doing collaborations with Tony Gregory, Free Eye, Bob Andy, Bob Marley. We did a love song as well there. And it was not until 1967 that I had my first hit song called Feel Like Jumping.
So how long did that process take you?
The entire decade of the 60s I spent at Studio One. From 64 until 1970 when I went on to Harry J.
And showing up as a little girl, 12-year-old girl, until you got the hit Feel Like Jumping, how long did that take? Was that a couple of years?
Yes, 64 to 67, which is the year I got that hit song.
So three years before you actually got that hit song. How old was everybody else that was in Studio One at the time? Were they much older than you, or was it a young Bob Marley too and a young Bob Andy?
Well, a lot older. When I went there, I met Bob, Peter, all the giants that you could ever think about was right in that stable. The only female I saw that day was Sister Rita. We just not too long came off the phone. She called me and I was reminding her. She remembered that today was the day we met, Easter Monday.
Wow.
So everybody else was much older. Delroy Wilson was one of the young guys. And when Freddie McGregor came, he was a younger, because they had to put him on a beer box for him to reach the microphone. So everybody else was much older.
And at no time at all did you feel intimidated with the older artists there when you had to do your thing in the studio?
Never, because even when I walked on the stage at Carb Theatre that morning, I was more anxious to show what I could do. I never had any doubt in myself. I knew what I could do, and I was just really ready to go there and show the world what I had. So I wasn't feeling intimidated by anything. I just went. It's because those days when you're recording, the music and the voice goes down one time because it's just 2 track.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like today. So, I was very comfortable with the band playing at the same time while I'm singing in the microphone, And all this was new to me because I'm a young little girl still going to school, no experience about studio and recording. So I was just there singing, like I love to do.
So let me ask you this, Sister Marcia. When you got the hit 3 years later, Feel Like Jumping, were you still going back and forth to school, or were you done with school at that time?
No, I wasn't finished. Well, I forgot to tell you that the first performance at Carib, my father accompanied me because I was a little girl underage. And every trip to Studio One, because Studio One was like a clocking 9-to-5 job. But when I'm at school, I can't go there. So it's only on weekends that I would go there, and my father accompanied me to Studio One. And my father and Mr. Dodd became very good friends because he was always there. He never allowed me to go there by myself.
Wow. So you would then record on the weekends and go to school during the week. You get you get the number one, Feel Like Jumping. Any number ones come directly after that, or is it a waiting game again for the next number one song?
No, but don't forget, while I was there, Bob Andy was writing all these songs, some of that I recorded at Studio One. Tell Me Now, Melody Life, Mark My Word, Truly, Feel Like Jumping. All these songs were written and done right in the stable of Studio One. So all this time, even with Freya, I had words. Bob Andy and myself did really together. So I had things, bubbling throughout that decade. But the number one song was really Feel Like Jumping. Then we went on 1970 to Harry J Records. Because really and truly, we started realizing now that this could be a job and there's no pay. The most we ever get there is a little one patty from Bruce's. And, we were just satisfied. And I always want to mention that those days when we were there recording, we weren't even thinking about money, That is the reason why I honestly believe that the songs that were done in those days, as people would refer to it as old school, but Barry Salmon says it's a good school, no old school. Those songs that were done in the good school days, they were songs with all the good ingredients. We invested our honesty, our time, our love, our sincerity. Everything that was good went into those songs. We weren't thinking about how much money we're going to get on. We just wanted to go in the studio and just record. And it was like a family affair. Ken Booth is recording. Bob Andy and myself would do harmonies. Bob Andy recording, I've got to go back home. The Wailers singing the harmony. And it was just like a family affair. Beautiful, beautiful relationship within the music, with everyone. So it's not until maybe the decade of the 60s that we started realizing that this is a game of survival and we need money, because it is now becoming something serious for me. Realizing that sometimes they do stage shows at the Ward Theatre or wherever the shows are being held, and I go and perform, but there's no pay. We're just doing it out of love.
Were there other females popular at the time when you were, in the early days of Marcia Griffiths?
Hortense Ellis. As a matter of fact, I think she performed on the same stage Easter Monday morning, and we became very good friends.
So that would be.
She was there, but
that would be Alton's sister.
Alton Ellis' sister, yeah. She was a really, really good singer. And we got together to do a collaboration, and I don't know what became of it, but Hortense was one of the singers there at the time, and Phyllis Dillon was in another stable at Duke Reed.
And she was also a big singer at the time.
Oh, I loved her. I loved her voice. So it was, I didn't know of anyone else but Hortense Ellis and Phyllis Dillon and myself.
Those of you who are just tuning in, I'm speaking to Marcia Griffiths today, Easter Monday. She's celebrating 57 years in music. And we're having this great conversation with her here on Sound Chat Radio because she is somebody that we're extremely proud of. And she has made people all across the world proud of our music and our culture. Marcia, I'm going to ask you some questions that I may already know the answers to, but I don't want to take for granted that some of the persons listening are not as familiar with your journey as I am, right? So I know a big part of the chapter, a big part of your story, your journey would be the fact that you became one of the I-Trees and you were on tour with Bonnie and Peter and Bob, right? Now,
no, never Bonnie and Peter.
Just Bob.
Just Bob.
Just Bob. All right. So let's speak about that and how that happened. Did you obviously you made hit songs as Marcia Griffiths before you became a member of the I-Trees, correct?
Correct. I never ever did relinquish my solo career at no time.
Hello?
Did I lose her? Because if I lost her, I'm just gonna get her back.
Hello? Yeah.
718-554-8598 is that number in studio.
Wicked conversation.
We're talking to Marcia Griffiths, right? And we're journeying throughout her career. And we're about to hit the top of the hour anyway. So what I'm going to do is, get it back from, get her back in the conversation. And we're going to start the conversation right at the I-Trees because that's where we were going with it, right?
Which is right.
Which is right. And I think this is Lady Marcia calling me back right now. Hello?
Something knocking us out.
Don't worry, because even though the forces might be fighting, we're fighting them back.
I always say good over evil every time.
Exactly. So, all right, let's get it clear for those who are listening. You were never on tour with Bonnie, Peter, and Bob. You were on tour with Bob.
Just Bob, because when I-3 came together as a group, I was doing some solo performances and I invited Judy and Rita to come and do some harmonies. Mm-hmm. And at the end of my performance on the third night, we just decided to do a little jam on the stage doing Sweet Inspiration song, and the audience loved it and encouraged us to form a group. And I said, why not? Let's call ourselves I-3. And Sister Rita said, I-3. And I said, yes, it's like saying we three, but instead of saying we three, we say I-3. So that's how the group came about, and that's the reason why I will continue to say that when we came together as a group, it was never a mistake or any coincidence. It was ordained by the Almighty God Chin, believe me, because it was the same time that Bob, Peter, and Bonnie were having a fallout, exactly the same time. And Bob heard that we came together as a group, and our first performance at the arena on a gospel show. So when he heard that we performing as a group, he called us in the studio to do Natty Dread. That was the first song. Prior to that, Rita and myself did Rocket Baby before we met Judy. But the first song as I3 with Bob was Natty Dread. It went straight to number one. Then the second one we went in and do was Jaliv, When His Majesty Passed. And that was a number one song as well. And the rest is history. We became his Three Little Birds. So at no time, we are on the road like twice a year, almost 3 months every time we go. Mainly in Europe, only with Bob Marley, because at that time, Bob and Peter and Bunny had a split. And especially since we started doing recordings with him and started touring, that was that. But at no time I was never on tour with Bunny or Peter. It was always just Bob, and I never relinquished my solo career because I started as a solo artist.
You were always still doing solo songs. Those of you who are tuned in, we're speaking to Marcia Griffiths. It is a celebration today here at Sound Chat Radio for her 57th anniversary in music. I know some of you are going to be interrupted by the top of the hour. Your stations are going to be going on a commercial break, but we are going to still be having the conversation here on Sound Chat Radio. So you can easily log on to soundchatradio.com and listen to us continue this historical journey. Or, Marcia Griffiths just, remembering the journey and sharing it with us, right? 57 years worth of journey. Now, it was you and Rita that was friends first, and then you guys met Judy. I think that's what I heard you say, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Judy started singing a little later, So we didn't meet her until all three of us met up at Studio One again. Mr. Dodd invited us all unknown to each of us. It was just Rita and myself who went. Then we met Judy there, and that's how I came to invite both of them to come and do the harmonies for me when we got together as a group. So she started a little later.
At that time, was Rita already dating Bob, or was just a professional? He found out that you guys were singing, and he came to hear what it was, and then gave you a job at being his backup singer.
Oh no! when I met Rita and Bob at Studio One that very same day, like today, they were already friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they were already friends, and then Bob hears that his girlfriend and you guys started a group and decided that, this may be something that can work. And you guys jumped into the studio and started to record.
Don't forget, we were still seeing each other every day. We are in the same stable. I see Bob, I see Rita. We're always together. Bunny Wailer was the only one I knew when I went to Studio One, because Bunny and I go way back from liquor school days.
And I was about to ask you, because I know that you go way back with Bunny. Did working with Bob ever affect your relationship with Bunny and Peter moving forward?
Never, ever. We were always, Bunny and I had a relationship that nothing could ever damage. And Peter and I were good as well, because that was, whatever was going on was between them. I didn't have anything to do with it, and we just kept it like that.
The other females in the I-Trees, did they start to make their own music as well? Or did that happen after you guys came off of the road with Bob?
No, well, Judy was in a group, called the Gaylets. So she was originally from a group, and she branched off and she did a couple of solo songs at Miss Pottinger too. The same lone female producer that was in the business. And then I think Rita started, Bob started recording, songs and Rita and himself was doing a whole lot of collabs.
Wow.
One of my favorite collab that they did was Chances Are, that Skip and myself perform on stage sometimes.
Wow.
But they were doing, Bob was always doing, his own thing. Even when he went on to record with Lee Scratch Perry, he was always doing his own thing. So every time they do a little jam or recording, Rita is always there singing.
You go on the road with Bob and the Wailers for how long? How long does that chapter of your career last?
Wow, that started in 74, right up until his passing.
So it stopped because he passed then?
That's right. We were on the road when that happened.
Mm-hmm. Touring the world, of course, making the music proud as one of the I-Trees, and every chance you got, you were able to jump back in and make your own recordings and, make a couple of hits here and there. What are some of the hit songs that you recorded while being on, a member of the I-Trees?
Well, excuse me, I was recording with Miss Sonia Pottinger on the High Note label,
Mm-hmm.
and I had this album, Survival was my first album there. And that was the album with Dreamland, Survival. Then I went on to do Stepping Out of Babylon. So I had 2 albums there. So those 2 albums were always, quite a few singles from the album became hit songs, So they were always there bubbling if I'm on tour with Bob or if I'm somewhere else with a Bob Andy.
Yeah.
Because, we had that, I had that going as well too. I would always have something going for me as a solo artist.
Because at one time you were touring with Bob Andy as well, right? And you guys were singing some big songs across the world.
Yes, we toured UK and Europe when we had Young and Black and another follow-up song, Pied Piper.
Can I ask you this, and I really want to figure this out, like the fact that you already had hit songs before going on the road with Bob, and while still being a member of the I-Trees, you were also still recording big songs. How did that balance for you? Like when you were on the road with Bob, did you have to kind of put Marcia Griffiths aside and just be the backup singer, or did you get sometimes where you were able to, perform as well?
Well, it was tough because sometimes I'm in demand to go and do solo performances, but I always choose to go with Bob because that trinity with myself and Sister Judy and Sister Rita, I just loved being with them and being with Bob. But a lot of times I'm on tour and I have bookings to perform as a solo artist, but as I say, I usually lean towards going with Bob because we just had a beautiful relationship, all 3 sisters,
Did that experience going on the road with Bob and breaking new ground with Bob open the doors for you to establish yourself independently moving forward?
Well, I could say yes and no because
Explain that.
we got an opportunity to open for Bob in Europe, and I was able to perform my songs. I did Stepping Out of Babylon and few other songs that I had going. So that was a good opportunity when he decided that we would open for him. So that was a beautiful moment because there were other artists that used to open for Bob, but for some reason it just became one package.
Who used to open for Bob? Who used to open for Bob? Like, share that with us as well.
Steel Pulse.
Wow.
Steel Pulse, when they were just coming, they would come and open. But believe me, Chin, there are some things that we artists go through that, boy, you would never imagine. It was rough because coming up at that time when Bob Marley is just going out there in the world and just breaking out to the world, it wasn't easy for any opener at that time. Because everybody wanted to see and hear this man, Bob Marley. The world started hearing about Bob Marley. So they didn't want any opener at that time.
They
so
wanted to get right to the main act.
Right to the main act. So he decided that I3s would just open instead of bringing in somebody else. So it was a good opportunity for every one of us because we had solo songs, all three of us. So we went and do our individual thing, and then we came together as I3 because we started recording songs as a group. So it was really a good opportunity.
Did that happen quite a few times, or was it just a one time he allowed you guys to do that?
No, it was the entire tour that we in Europe that we did the open, yeah.
And the people really embraced that at that time.
Oh, they loved it. Because they know that we're a part of the Bob Marley experience, So they really loved it. The response was beautiful.
After Bob passed,
and then it was actually like a warm up for us, because Bob is coming now, so it was a good warm up.
After he passes away, Sister Marcia, another chapter of your life starts because now you would no longer be on the road with Bob Marley and the Wailers, and you have an opportunity now to pursue, Marcia Griffiths once again. What was that starting out without Bob Marley like for you?
Well, it was nothing like starting out again as a solo because, as I said, I was maintaining my solo. But it was not easy because that loss, up until this day, I still remember the moments, and it wasn't easy, because that was something that I really looked forward to. Because at that time, I never had any experience of witnessing so many people, a multitude of people, in one place. So every experience that I had touring with Bob was something new. It was like a learning period for me on the road. I felt like we were all missionary, on a mission from God, and we delivering the message while we are still learning, and we are seeing people's different culture along the way, and we are meeting different people and, seeing a different life. So that was one aspect of it that I really, really missed.
What were the crowds like for you guys can you remember like the numbers, 10,000, 5,000, 20,000?
80,000. We walked on stage in Sweden. And when I walked out there, I was so shocked. I was speechless. In the front of the audience alone, we had like 10,000 paraplegics in wheelchair. They gave them priority to be in the front. And it was like 80,000, 100,000. And I've never seen this in my life. It was like a multitude of people, and all of these people came to hear this one man. Most of them don't speak English, but I am sure they were feeling that positive vibration, and the word started to spread all over the world that this man just rise up from out of nowhere and is speaking to the people through his music, and he's teaching and he's educating and he's uplifting, giving people hope. So everyone came out to see this man and to hear what this man had to say. So it was special moments for me witnessing all of this, people from all walks.
When I I'm trying to visualize what you're speaking of and, kind of put myself in that time. And what I'm coming up with, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, is that even though you had your independent career and you were making good songs and hit songs, the Bob Marley experience gave you an experience that you couldn't reach that level of understanding of how big the music could possibly become if you weren't on that stage with Bob. You,
Believe it or not, I I have to tell you that it was not until I started working with Bob Marley that I realized the seriousness of the music, because I was just a young girl enjoying singing up and down, and that's what I love to do: school concerts, church choir, and that's it. But it was not until I started working with Bob that I saw that this thing was much deeper than I thought. This is a serious business, because I've never in my life seen anyone taking the music so serious as Bob Marley did.
Wow.
Nothing at all came before his music. Nothing, no food, no money. The music was his life.
Can I
So that is when I started
go ahead?
making a turn in delivering my message through the music, because I've started to realize now that the message is what it's all about. It's a message that you are sending in the music. And I also found out that the reason why God calls upon the singers and players is because we are the ones. We are the chosen ones who will take the message to the four corners of the earth to unite, to deliver and to make this world a better place, because this is our greatest weapon, the music. And Bob taught me all of this just by observing his old behavior and how he treats the music. It was a serious business.
I want to make an assumption, and I want you to let me know if it's accurate or inaccurate. The fact that you were able to be exposed to something that no one else, no other female in the industry was able to witness, except of course for Judy and Rita. After Bob, and that whole experience that you were able to harness is the ingredients that made you who you are today. So the experience from Bob, the knowing that the music is out there, knowing where the music needs to go and how the music needs to be presented, and putting that together with the talents of a Marcia Griffiths is the reason why we're having this conversation 57 years later. Is that possible?
Most definitely. You could not have said it any better, because I actually felt as if I went through university and I graduated in university. So I'm ready for the world. So I'm ready for the music. So nothing will shake me, because after going through all of that lesson that I just learned from just the experience of working with Bob Marley, I started thinking differently now. When I walk in the studio, I don't want to go in there to sing about your eyes blue like the ocean and all that. No. I have to send serious message of truth, upliftment, something that can educate the younger generation. You have to think about what you are sending and make a positive contribution to the world. That's how I started thinking, just like how I saw Bob doing it. His message, nothing came before it. When I saw everyone running for their lives in Zimbabwe, Chin, that man stood on the stage and he was ready to die with his people. He wasn't going nowhere. None of us knew what was happening. This was a stampede, tear gas, soldiers ready for war. And whatever the reason was, Bob wasn't just singing and preaching. He was practicing what he was preaching. He wasn't going anywhere. And he stood there. I don't know how he managed with Ziggy. Was just a little boy. And to really survive that tear gas and all of that, what went on there, boy, I lift my hat to him when all of us ran away for our lives and left him there. But when I think about what Bob did that night, I said, "Oh my goodness!" I showed him. That's the reason why I will always say, I thank God that I gave him flowers while he was alive. He didn't have to pass for me to say, "Wow, he was this and he was that." I knew who that man was. Trust me.
And in you saying that you know who Bob was, because you were able to see his work and understand what he meant and the mission that he was on, is how a lot of us feel about you. And it's the same way that we feel like it would be very unjust to give you your flowers after you make a transition. So I wanted to take this opportunity to talk to you now, for you to tell your story and let people understand what a 57-year-old journey really is. You know what I mean? You have gone through so many different chapters. We wouldn't be able to cover all of them. But
No, no, no. That's
yeah,
true.
but and you wouldn't be able to cover all of them. But what it means is that you are possibly, and you may not want to say this because you are a very modest individual, but you are our female gem in music, in our music, and there will never ever be another Marcia Griffiths. So therefore, when you hit milestones such as this one, the industry owes you. Not that you're gonna cost them or you're gonna feel away, but just out of
No, but
what you've done.
and I'm not looking for anything. The
And
love I get from people is enough. It satisfies my soul. It touches my soul, just like how I am happy when I touch anyone's soul with my music, which I know no doctor can't do. It's the same thing. I'm not looking for anything. No awards, no reward. I'm just doing what I'm here to do.
And the
And I
funny thing, Sister
know.
Marcia, I knew that you were going to say that. And, the way I look at it is that, yes, I commend that you're not looking for anything, because you're on your mission and you do your thing and you spread your truth and your gospel. But at the same time, on the other side of it, I think that people such as myself and, other media houses and people who claim to love the music as much as they say they love the music is supposed to join persons like yourself in celebrations of milestones in this caliber. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. And I'm not saying that to sound away. I'm saying it because we all know that there will never, ever be another Marcia Griffiths.
Well,
No, and again, you don't have to feel this way, but I'm speaking to you passionately about how I feel about your contribution. So many of us who are in music know we have been able to, spark careers for ourselves based on the work that you and your colleagues have done during your time.
yeah, well, someone had to lay the foundation, and the foundation is very solid
Yes.
to have lasted today.
Yes. 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 We spoke about Bob. We spoke about, going back after Bob and, what the whole Bob Marley experience contributed to you now, continuing with your solo career. Let's speak about the longevity before you go, Sister Marcia. How have you been able to stay in it so long? Because you're not the only one from that time, but you are one of the most visible from that time. How have you managed to stay so relevant over the years?
Well, I think one of the main thing, I love the energy from the youth, and we know that we are foundation people, and I just want to see all the young talents come forth, because we have so much talent. God has blessed so many of us in this life that I want to see everyone just come forth and do the things that I do, and that's the reason why I love to pass on experience to the younger generation. But the most important thing is to share the vibration with the younger generation, to do collabs. I've done 50 collaborations so far, and this is like from you, Roy, to Romaine Virgo.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it with almost every singer and DJ. Very
Yes.
talented, very good artist.
There's you on
And
Bounty Killer, you
Yeah,
on
man.
Cabra,
Yeah, man.
you on Berries. Can we name some more, sister? You on Cutty Rankin.
Mm-hmm. Enough with cutting
Yeah,
rights.
enough with it. You.
Romaine Virgo, Tanya Stevens, Queen Ifrika, Richie Stevens, Deville,
Yes.
um, Sasko,
Yes.
Buju.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, as I said, I've done 50 collabs so far.
Wow.
50 collabs. And these are the things, you know, as I said, I love the energy from the youth. The youth, there's no energy like the youth. And I find that some of these, the younger generation in the music, they are so, boy, they're versatile and they are creative. Some of the, I'm not talking about lyrics that is not positive, you know, to teach, especially this generation. We know they need so much guidance, and we are depending on the younger generation to really, you know, contribute positively so we can teach this generation. I feel so overwhelmed, Chin, when I think about having gone through 3 generations. Bob Marley, I have performed and worked with all the children, Damien, Steve, Ziggy. And when I stand on a stage to perform with his grandson, it is such a wonderful feeling. You know, to know that I've done 3 generations, it is really, really something that I give God thanks for, you know, preserving me to, you know, that's just a part of longevity. And I usually say, one of the main things I'll tell anyone, humility has a lot to do with longevity.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the hype and all that, because I say that no matter what we wear or what we eat and drink, if your thoughts are not clean and pure, or even to try to make your thoughts clean, you know, it's just a reflection from what is inside. When people look at you and you radiate, it's a beautiful, beautiful reflection that comes from within. And I just try to maintain that. I try to, not saying that I'm innocent and I'm any saint or anything like that, but I do try to live a hopeful life. And I guess that is part of the way I radiate, you know, from the thoughts, the things I think, and I just love every single one.
Sister Marcia, I mean, I have to say thank you so much. The phone lines are blazing. I know people want to get in to congratulate you, to comment on the journey that you just described. Again, for those of you listening, there's no way we can speak about every chapter of Sister Marcia's life. But
Well, it is going to be in my book, Chin.
I was just about to ask you about that. Cause 57 years needs a book, you know.
Yeah, man.
Well, Bob Andy always tell me, anyone who has done so long in this music has a story to tell.
Yes.
And trust me, mine is there, and I'm thanking God for the journey. I wouldn't change nothing.
So we will literally be able to read chapter by chapter through your journey and understand a little bit more about who you are and what you have done along the way. I love that. I love the idea of even knowing that I'll be able to put my hands on a book, an autobiography of Marcia Griffiths.
Yes, and you know what I'm loving more than anything else too? I want the world to know. When I started in this business, it was totally male dominated. And to think that today I can sit and look and see the beautiful roses in the garden. There are so many talented female young singers. I am just so joyful. I'm overwhelmed.
And you must admit that you had something to do with that, because they had a
man.
female
Well,
who
I
was
don't
successful.
like to blow my own on in a chin, but believe me, I sit and I will hear almost everyone say that I was their inspiration and their influence and their role model. So
But
it's a beautiful feeling.
and they have to say that because as a female coming into the industry, you're definitely going to be encouraged and strengthened by seeing somebody else also being able to compete with them in a male dominated industry and do it at the high level like what you were doing it at. So for any female to come into reggae music and not have admiration for Marcia Griffiths, they just wouldn't be being true to their craft.
So true.
You open the
Well,
doors and you have taken it farther than any other female in the genre. So anybody that comes in afterwards have said to themselves at some point, so I can't do it because Marcia make it
Yeah,
this, so
man.
So if Marcia make it this, so
look
that
here
means
now,
a woman
Tim,
can make it this, so.
you say that like a joke, but I don't know what it is with me. When I do something, it is so influential that somebody else feel like, oh, I can do that too. It looks so easy, and I am happy for that. But the one that take the cake, I've heard like 90% of the women say that I have inspired them. But when I hear I win,
I win.
I win.
I was so shocked to hear Irene say that, who inspired him. It was like icing on the cake.
Wow. I win.
Beautiful.
So would I Wayne be the first male that has said, in that you have,
Yeah, I've
acknowledged?
never heard another one. I've
Okay.
never heard. Freddie McGregor and myself were very close, and he usually say nice things all the time. Bury someone, but to really hear somebody, another brother say, boy, I was an inspiration,
And of course,
Like-
from a generation that came
Right.
way after your generation. So that's the true
Thank
influence.
you.
Yes, because
Yeah.
Freddie and Beres and Bob, them they were part of your generation. But I Wayne means a lot more because he was a generation that came after you. So Sister Marcia, I commend you on the work. I thank you so much for keeping it alive, still keeping it alive, what you put in. I thank you for your time, taking out this busy day of yours just to, reminisce with us on the Sound Chat platform. I thank you so much. The phone lines are blazing, so I have to
Well,
let your
Tim,
fans speak to you.
it's a pleasure, and thank you for having me. And I just want you to keep the fire burning because we need each other.
Yes.
You're on that end doing a great job yourself, so keep it burning, my brother.
Give thanks, Sister Marcia.
We
Thank you
salute
so
you.
much. Salute.
We
Yes.
And
salute
much love and blessings to all my fans. Thank you so much for your support over the years. I love you truly.
Sister Marcia, thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Bless.
Marcia Griffiths.